Welcome to
Week 10.
Week 10. This is very exciting,
Yes, it is.
isn't it?
It is.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
You have something in your teeth.
Oh, I'm high definition teeth.
Do
stuff.
I?
No.
Okay, good. It's not very visible.
I just feel that. Welcome to Week 10.
Week 10, guys. Week 10. Our little poppet is 10 weeks. This is so exciting. And this week we had our first appointment with our midwife, which was really cool. She took my blood pressure. What else did we talk about? Oh, we spoke about the tests that I'm going to get. This is something that I wanted to chat to you guys about. During your pregnancy, you are going to get offered 1 million different tests. Please do your research on all of them and really work out which ones you want to do. Don't just do them all just because your obstetrician tells you to. Really do your research and make sure that you are doing what feels right for you. So that's what we spoke about in our first session with them today, this week, which was awesome. We spoke about the first trimester tests, which I'll be getting in a few weeks.
Shall we share the test that we've decided to do?
Yes. Okay, so we decided to do the Fetal Wellbeing Ultrasound, which is not the full ultrasound where they measure the length and the fluid in the spinal cord and all that. This is just a very short, quick ultrasound, basically to tell the heartbeat. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a very, very quick one. The thing with ultrasounds is we've also done a lot of research. You want to keep them as short as possible if you can. It is still technically radiation, so you do want to keep them as short as you can. So you want to get a sonographer who's not like chatting away if possible. So that's the first test that we're getting at 12 weeks. And we also decided to do the harmony test. Now, I didn't think that I was going to do the harmony test, but it's a blood test, by the way. And I'm so fine with blood tests. They're easy, they're not invasive at all to the baby. And the reason we decided to get that test is because I don't think we would do it if we didn't have this situation. But the reason we decided to get it was because Leo, for those of you who don't know, is my stepson, Nick's son. He is 14 and he has been away for a whole term.
Last 3 months.
The last 3 months he has been away. It's part of their schooling. They kind of like go to like a boarding school for half of the year and they have this beautiful rite of passage. They go boys, they come back men. It's a really beautiful thing. So he's been away. So he doesn't even know right now. Like he doesn't know. Our parents know and some of our best friends know, but he doesn't even know because we can't communicate with him. The only way that we can communicate with him whilst he's away is by writing letters. And we didn't want to tell him in a letter.
It's his first sibling too.
It's his first sibling, so we wanted to be able to tell him in person. So he is coming here in the school holidays. So basically they go away for all of a term. They come back in the school holidays and then they go again for the next term. So they're pretty much away for half of a year. And so he's coming home in these school holidays. And so we wanted to be able to bring him to the first ultrasound and also do a gender reveal party whilst he's here. And if we didn't get the harmony test, we would have to wait to 20 weeks to find out the sex, and he would be back at camp and then he wouldn't be able to be included. And we really wanted him to be included in this. It's such a fun celebration. So that's why we decided to do the harmony test. The harmony test is also a great test. It's very in-depth. It tells you all of the risks.
Well, it's actually the only way to really know anything conclusive about Down syndrome. So if you do the other test, which is a combination of blood but also ultrasound,
a more in-depth ultrasound,
there's a lot of false negatives and a lot of false positives. So even if you get a false negative, even if you get a negative, it could be false. You get a positive, it could be false. And then the only way to really find out is
you do the harmony.
And then you've missed the window to actually do the harmony, which has to be done in a certain time frame, right? which means the only way to actually know is to do really invasive testing, which carries a 50% miscarriage rate. So we're all kind of like, we're not concerned about Down syndrome, but we actually wanted to know the sex. The best way to know that, well, the only way to know it right now is Harmony. So we thought, okay, well, it also gives us conclusive Down syndrome testing, so it's kind of a bonus.
And it's only bloods, which, yeah, I'm happy to do that. And a lot of people don't do the Harmony test because it's $495 or $490 or something like that.
In Australia, yeah.
In Australia, that is. So a lot of people don't do it because it's quite expensive.
Fair enough.
So that's another reason why they don't. So that's why we've decided to do those 2 tests in this first trimester. That's the only test that we'll be doing. And we feel really good about that. And what else?
Well, Melissa's still been nauseous.
Not too bad. It's not. Week
had moments.
5 and week 6 were they were the worst. But then I've had...
You get moments now, like where it's still low grade, but you get moments where it's like, uh-oh, and she's down. Like, she's down.
Well, how we communicate it is we don't use the words morning sickness. We just call it nausea. And so there's like a scale. Like 10 is obviously like, I'm really nauseous. Like, so sometimes he'll look at me and say, what are you? And I'm like, about a 4. And he's like, okay. So he kind of knows what I'm at. And so we just kind of use that little scale system to communicate
and
how I'm going.
I'm still cooking a lot of different things because she loses interest in what she was eating. So all of a sudden something is like the flavor of the week and then she can't have it anymore. So it's good. I've been testing out lots of recipes, which is good.
It's so interesting, the whole food thing whilst you're pregnant. It's, I'm obsessed with vegetables and I really have to make a conscious effort. So he's been making lots of things to hide vegetables. You don't necessarily I feel like a child, like you have to kind of hide them and things. So beautiful soups. We've been making yummy like cannellini, pumpkin, kaffir lime soups, jam-packed. Yeah, coconut and ginger, jam-packed with vegetables. So like leafy greens. So that's a great way to keep getting the vegetables into you. During this period, because it's so important. Whatever you put into your body is going straight to your little bubba, so keep eating really well. Also, another thing, I usually drink a lot of water and I just am not drinking as much. It kind of makes me feel a bit sick, so I'm trying to force down the water, making sure I'm drinking a lot of water because again, it's so important. Fresh air really helps, going for walks really help. I always thought that I would be the person that would just be constantly doing prenatal yoga and walking every day during my pregnancy. But I really, this whole first trimester, I can probably count on 2 hands how many times I've done yoga and gone for a walk, which is wild. But I've just been tuning into my body and my body's like, just lay down, just rest. I've been having day naps, which are so fun. I'm all for day naps. And going to bed super early, waking up when my body wants to wake up. What else? Reading lots of books.
Yeah, I mean, this week Melissa's latest book just came out, Purposeful, which is an Audible original series. So you've had to move through some pretty major work things as well.
Yes.
But we've got a great team and we've done well, I think. Mm-hmm. We've also been excited to see a bit of a bump, just a bit of a bump.
I think just sometimes.
Sometimes, morning,
yeah, like morning
night,
and the evening.
Bit of a bump, like, you have to look. You got to look, we're trying.
I think I'm pushing it out purposely.
Get a microscope, but it's coming, we can see it. But next week will be the actual scan, because it'll be at the end. Yeah, end of next week.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. And everything else has been going good.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, you can pop them below and we'll do our best to answer them. But really do look at all of the tests, really be discerning with which ones you're going to do and do your research.
We also, this week, did decide that we're not going to have a doula.
Yes, and the reason why is because there's a couple of reasons. I am so well read on these topics, and I'm not saying I know like I know more than what they would know, but I do know a lot. And I've spoken to quite a few doulas, and the information that they share is a lot of what I've already researched. And I was thinking about it, and I've been chatting to a couple of my best friends who have had really beautiful, peaceful, at-home water births. And they have shared with me that you really want to be mindful of how many people you have in your space. And for us, we want obviously just us and our 2 midwives, and then someone who's going to be photographing and taking some video footage. So that's 5 people in our space. Now, we don't have a massive home, and for me, I already love my own space, and I love the intimacy of our home. And so we were just chatting about it, and it just kind of came. I was like, I don't feel like, and I always thought, I was always saying, we'll have a doula, we'll have a doula, we'll have a doula. But I feel like our midwives are kind of like doulas as well. They have that energy, they have that, they're very spiritual, they're very connected, and so they have that kind of energy. And I just feel like for me, I feel like I'm going to be so in my zone and in my process that I just don't think I'm going to need that many people in my space, or feel like I want that many people in my space. So,
but as well, I think on top of that, it depends on the partner. So for me personally, I actually want to be the one who's playing the supportive role for Melissa. So I want to be so well versed and prepped that together we feel like we could do it on our own, and the midwives are just literally there to make sure everything goes smoothly. Like, that's the place I want to get it to, is we don't actually need anyone. In fact, one of our best friends gave birth on her own. Well, not on her own.
Just free birth.
Just free birthed, and it was kind of unintentional. The midwife couldn't make it. So, and it was a beautiful, fast experience.
Peaceful.
So peaceful, just her husband, her son, and her sister-in-law. And so we've got that as an example as well of what's possible. And I just think sometimes, well, I think all the time, mums and dads need to just back themselves, really believe in yourself. And I think having a doula, to me, I almost felt like it was giving away a bit of my power in the process. I feel like, I've been a parent before. I haven't gone through a home birth, but I have a 14-year-old son. I've learned a few things. And one of those things is being a rock, and I think parenting teaches you that. So I'm excited about it.
And I think I'm so grateful to have a partner who is so interested. Like, he's at every appointment. He is so interested in the topic. Like, I will be reading something and you are like, yes, and you soak it up, and that's so beautiful. Like, I've always dreamed of having a partner who's on the journey with me, and I'll constantly be sharing little tips and tricks. Like, in a lot of the books that I read, there'll be like a for the fathers section, this is what you need to do during the labor for your wife, and I'll give it to Nick, and he's like a sponge, and just, I'll say to him, this is what they say you need to say, and things like that. So I think it's really empowering and exciting, and I'm excited. And yeah, I've had lots of beautiful examples of friends who are just empowered goddess birthers, and that's really inspired me too. And I'm not burying my head in the sand. I know that, I don't know tangibly because I haven't experienced it, but I know that there's intensity, definitely, and I'm not completely just turning my eyes away from that. I think the more that you prepare yourself during your pregnancy for that birth and for all of it, and you look at all of it, it's like preparing yourself for a marathon. You look at everything like, well, what if this happens? And something that I'm doing at the moment is I am journaling out all of my fears and talking to Nick about them and talking to my midwives about them. It's very important that you look at that stuff. You don't just bury your head in the sand. You look at it and you release that fear, because it's just a little fear that maybe it came from your childhood or something like that, but the more that we can release those fears during our pregnancy, the more pleasurable and blissful our birth experience is going to be, because it is such an empowered experience. It is a rite of passage. It is a beautiful, you are birthing yourself into motherhood. You are going from maiden to mother. It is the biggest moment of your entire life. And that needs preparation. Like, people spend so much time planning their weddings and planning different celebrations and doing no prep to plan for the biggest moment of your entire life. And I'm so excited. I feel like I was born for this. We all are. And I feel like the more you can look at it, I'm reading another incredible book at the moment, Birthing from Within by Pam England, who's also been on my podcast. I'll link to it I'll link to it below. I was going to say in the show notes. Wrong medium. We're not on the podcast here, but I'll link below so you guys can listen to that episode. It's so good with Pam England.
I think as well, for the fellas, look at your own fears as well, because you're holding space and your fears could play out during the birth process. If something a bit tricky comes up and it triggers something within you, the last thing you want to do is project that onto your wife or your partner. Super important. So, I'm going to start thinking more and more about my own stuff that I've got so I don't carry it into the birth. So, yeah.
What do you feel like, what are some of the things that some of the men watching can do? Like, what do you feel like your role is? Obviously, looking at your fears and addressing them and releasing them is really helpful, but what do you think, like, how can men prepare for this monumental space-holding experience?
Well, especially if you're home birthing, I think it's really important that the men know just as much as the women going into it, because the more educated you are, the more empowered you are, and the more empowered you are, the better space you're going to hold for your partner. So I just think it's about education, like take part in that process. Because Melissa said, she reads parts where it says for the guys, which is true, but I'm learning all the other stuff as well, because I'm just as fascinated by that. So, I want to know that when she's at a certain part, I'll know exactly where she's at and what to say. Hopefully. That's my intention, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, the more prepared I am, the better of a doula I'm going to be for my beautiful wife. So that's week 10.
Yes, and I just think prepare like you would a marathon, like you would any big life event that takes a lot of time and energy. Prepare yourself, educate yourself now, and get your partner involved and make it fun. Like we watch documentaries together, we listen to podcasts together, we read books together. Make it fun. And there's nothing more exciting than learning about your own body. Like, it's so fascinating. It's amazing. So every week when we tick over to the next week, we sit every morning, we eat breakfast, and I have an app that I follow. I think it's called What to Expect.
What to Expect. It's a fun little app. It just sort of tracks your timeline and has videos and stuff. It's cool.
And there's so many pregnancy apps out there, but we're using the What to Expect one. It tells us how big our baby is. This week, it was a prune size, and so it's got some videos and things like that in there too. So we watch that together and we educate ourselves together. It's really, really beautiful. I'm so grateful I have someone who's is as interested as I am. So yeah.
That's it.
That's week 10.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you next week.
Ciao.